So you're thinking of going to a San Diego FC match. Maybe your club is playing on the road there, or you're visiting for work or vacation and just want to catch a good game. So what's going to a game at San Diego FC's Snapdragon Stadium like exactly? I had a chance to attend San Diego FC's home opener on March 1st, so here is my away day review of Snapdragon Stadium as an away supporter. New to my away day reviews, I started these last year as a guide for fans who might be interested in visiting the places that I go to in USL, NWSL, and MLS. And here's the final standings of the venues I went to in 2024. As you can see, USL has a lot of quality places to catch a game, and the NWSL's KC Currents game day experience, yes, is actually way better than Sporting KC's. And I don't just say that as a fan of Sporting KC's rival St. Louis City SC, but I will take this time to point out that I will not rate my own club stadium. I just don't feel that I can be fully unbiased in rating Energizer Park. I think it's the absolute crown jewel of not just MLS, but compared to other places I've been to in my lifetime. Enough about that. Here is my away day review of Snapdragon Stadium and San Diego FC. No, not the San Diego Loyal. They don't exist anymore. Leading off with the stadium itself, and overall, I was pretty impressed with Snapdragon. It's not even 3 years old yet, and it definitely felt like a newer, quality place to catch a game. The stadium itself is kind of nestled into the hills a bit, which makes for a picturesque setting. It's surrounded by parking lots on the south and east sides, which are great for tailgating and gathering beforehand. However, I will warn you, parking is expensive in these lots. Don't do this. I was warned that you should not drive to San Diego FC games because it costs $45 to park there, which is ugh. But the trolley drops you off right around there, basically where, towards where my, thumb is pointing. $250 gets you on the trolley and gets you to wherever you need to go along the line. So this is pretty cool. They got the old scoreboard from Qualcomm Stadium here. This is actually pretty neat. Nice little nod to San Diego sports history here. Always like little touches like this. From the old to the new. Inside the stadium, the concourses were wide and open and never felt claustrophobic, which is a complaint that I have about my own club stadium. To be fair, San Diego had a far bigger footprint to fill than St. Louis's. Bathrooms weren't hard to find, and there was plenty of food and shopping options around. Lines never seemed too long for any spot, though I did do most of my walking around before the game, before the crowds really filled in. I think this team store filled up as the day went on, though. It's a good store, though you may prefer to go to the nearby mall where their club team store is before the game. It's along the trolley line as well. It's a bit more open, you won't be bumping into people, and thanks to my friend Jerry Hayes for shooting this video. Say hi! Then for the seating area, the seats were new and comfortable. It also seemed pretty vertical, so you always had a good view of the stadium without a head getting in the way. This is from section 212 in the corner, and let's face it, you could do a lot worse at MLS stadiums than this. The supporters areas was pretty vast, more wide than tall, but I've got to talk about this for a second. Because Snapdragon is so open, it's really hard to actually hear the supporters section from across the stadium from my vantage point. And the stadium's open design means sound just disappears into the air, unlike other venues that are more enclosed. However, being a 35,000 seat capacity stadium does mean there's a lot of fans that try to make up for it. But really, in the end, I really enjoyed Snapdragon. So really a lot to like about this stadium here so far. Big, open, airy. You can knock it a little bit because it's not the most intimate of stadiums per se, but it's very nicely laid out. It's everything is very good with it for the most part. The location of Snapdragon Stadium is not the best, but it does make up for it with public transit options and really just a generally good layout here. I like this place quite a bit. Overall, I'm giving the stadium a solid 8. It's new, it's comfortable, it's hard to find a bad seat in the place, and there's affordable public transit options to the stadium. But it does lose a bit because it might be a bit too open, parking is pricey, and the turf, well, has issues. Maybe I should have saved the turf for this section, though I think the game suffered more because of the styles of the two clubs. San Diego was breaking down St. Louis's press and constantly laying siege on Roman Berkey in the defense, but they had a hard time generating supremely quality chances because St. Louis was playing so defensive with a five-in-the-back system. It did work to get a point, but St. Louis couldn't muster anything of note except for these two fleeting opportunities. Literally, this is all St. Louis could do because they were playing on their heels so much. So I'm giving this one a 5. You have talented players on both sides, and I think San Diego FC is going to be at least decent this year, but they did lose Chucky Lozano early to injury, which thankfully for San Diego fans doesn't seem to be too serious, but overall the style of this game made for a pretty boring watch. Next, we're on to value, and this one is going to be a tricky one to score. It's San Diego FC's first ever season, and as such, demand is going to be very, very high for games this year. I didn't screen grab prices for the St. Louis game, partly because I got tickets for free through St. Louis City for being a supporter. But here's a look at prices for some upcoming games. And look at LAFC. That is a wild, wild low price point, but that's also going to be a local rival, so I can understand that. Other games, it'll still cost you about $25 to $30 to get into the door. Compare that to this Nashville SC game I'm going to in March, where I got front row seats for $30 a pop. That gets you in the nosebleeds at Snapdragon. Now, it sounds like I'm being mean here, but I'm personally not going to throw San Diego under the bus here for these prices. It's simple supply and demand economics here, and there's going to be a lot of demand for a new club in its first season. It's just the way it is. Though to be fair, concessions weren't out of line compared to other stadiums in this country, and maybe I was wrong to assume that just because it's California, it'd be the cost of a firstborn child to get a sandwich and a beer. Nothing outrageous here compared to other American venues, but I would still eat away from the stadium just because San Diego is such a good foodie city. Though I will say this barbecue sandwich had me curious.
Not gonna lie, that sandwich is a little pricey, but I'm kind of curious about it. It sounds actually pretty good. But you know what? I get enough barbecue back in the Midwest, so I'll pass.
Merch was also right in line with what you expect from an MLS club to sell merch for, though they did have these patches for free. They gave away San Diego scarves just for showing up, and this pin cost just $8. I mean, really nothing crazy here. I still won't buy this kit, though. It's just boring. I get it has a story, but as a neutral, I'm just not the market for it. So I'm going to give the value a 6.5. You don't have to mortgage your child's college tuition to afford to go to a game here, but tickets and parking can be pricey. But once you're in, merch and concessions aren't bad and actually redeem the score a bit. I'm also grading a bit on a curve because it's the first season, so of course demand will be high. I'm going to start out with vibes here by saying that San Diego supporters were some of the nicest, most laid-back soccer fans I've encountered in my journeys. We were invited to the supporters pregame in the purple lot, and it was nothing but vibes and friendship between San Diego and St. Louis supporters. And it was full of nice folks like Eddie, who leads a Star Wars-themed supporters group, the 18th Battalion.
A group of my friends, we all love Star Wars. We saw that we had a new MLS team coming to town. We loved at the crest reveal, we saw all the supporters. We said we wanted to be a part of that, but let's put our own twist. We love Star Wars, we love soccer. Why not combine both of our loves, make them one love?
But even away from the supporters pregame, the parking lot had a lot of San Diego fans, and all of them looked happy to be there. Some of them playfully booed the away supporters, while others were very welcoming and friendly. I personally did not have a single bad experience. Do unto others applies here. We were guests in their house, and they treated us with respect, so we were happy to pay that back in kind. To my knowledge, there were no fights in the stands during the game among supporters. I do know there was one incident where a member of the St. Louis Santos was pushed down to the ground after the game because I guess a fan from the neighboring section didn't appreciate the fact that he was drumming all game. But outside of that very isolated incident, no problems at all. That was one fan out of 34,500, so you do the math on that. Inside the stadium, it never got really quiet during the game. Fans reacted to chances and crosses San Diego would have against St. Louis, and the place in general just had the excited vibes of a first ever home match. The supporters' end was bumping all game long too. Again, it was just very hard to hear them across the field because the acoustics of the stadium were poor because it's so open-aired. And San Diego did put on a great show in the pregame as well. in all, it just felt like a major event. The fans were into it and were very friendly. No real complaints here. So I'm giving the vibes an 8.5, though. The half points I'm knocking off for the fact that the stadium isn't conducive to atmosphere, fans that were leaving early in a nervy match that was tied, that just absolutely made no sense to me, and that homophobic chant, which I'm not penalizing anymore because I'm choosing to remain optimistic the club will snuff that out. And to be fair, it was only done by some of the crowd and no one in the supporters' end. So just very minor points overall. That gives San Diego FC and Snapdragon Stadium a final score of 28 out of 40. It's a strong score boosted by good, fun fans and a solid stadium, but hindered a bit by poor inaugural season value and the fact that I did watch a bad game. But would I recommend going to San Diego FC for a match at Snapdragon Stadium? Whether you're a San Diego resident or visiting, I absolutely would. San Diego is just a fun vacation spot in general, and if you're feeling adventurous, you could even loop in a Liga MX game down in Tijuana. Xolos plays down there, for instance. You can even maybe hop up to LA for if El Tráfico's going on, or just to catch an LAFC game or a Galaxy game if they're playing on a different night. You can even see Orange County SC up in the LA area as well. NWSL, you have two clubs to choose from. You have San Diego Wave in San Diego, or you can go up to LA and see Angel City. But even if you don't make it a fun-filled soccer weekend, you just have time to go to one match, San Diego FC is a pretty good choice. I mean, you could do a lot worse. Sit down, I wasn't talking to you. You're my club's rival, Sporting Kansas, but you're not bad either. I just like Snapdragon Stadium more. Deal with it. Let me know if you enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm traveling around America this season, filming more games to bring to people like you who maybe are not able to go to them or are considering going to these places and want a little primer beforehand. Also, thank you to my Zombie Ultras who helped me get to games like this one here. It just costs $4.99 a month to support this channel. If that is too much for you, you can sign up for the 99-cent supporters section. There's about 16 of you there right now. You guys were the originals, and I appreciate you as well for helping support this channel. This is your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin here, and if you want a more comprehensive look at that first match between San Diego FC and St. Louis City, I did a full long video on it right up here. It runs about 33 minutes, but it's chock full of good travel stuff, more from fans before the game. There was a guy from Milan, Italy there that's there to support San Diego. Why? Well, click the video and you'll find out for yourself. It's pretty crazy, actually.